Hi, I'm Rob Tweed, the developer behind the QEWD platform and QEWD-JSdb, and in this video I'll show you how quickly and easily you can start up the QEWD-JSdb showcase ready for use. The QEWD-JSdb showcase is simply a pre-built Dockerized instance of QEWD that includes a number of features and applications that demonstrate the unique database capabilities of QEWD-JSdb. You can install and run it on pretty much any platform, but I'd recommend a Linux system or virtual machine. It'll even run on a Raspberry Pi, and that's what I'm actually going to demonstrate in this video. However, the steps will be identical on any other Linux platform. So what you're looking at here is a terminal window on my Mac, and I'm going to SSH into the Raspberry Pi. This is actually a Raspberry Pi 4 with a newly installed instance of the latest standard version of Raspbian Lite from the Raspberry Pi download site. If you've got a Raspberry Pi 3, then it'll also work just fine. The only additional step I've carried out on the Raspberry Pi after I started it up with a new copy of Raspbian was to enable SSH. So I'll connect to the Raspberry Pi over SSH in this terminal window. This is the first time I've connected, so I'll need to say yes here. And we'll enter the password. Okay, so now I need to install QEWD-JSdb from its GitHub repository. So actually I need to first install Git on the Raspberry Pi. Raspbian doesn't include that by default. So I'll first do an apt update. And then install Git. And now I'm ready to use git clone to install the repository on my Raspberry Pi. Here's the git clone command to use. And let's just check where it put it. Yep, it's in this QEWD-JSdb folder. So we'll change to that directory. And now we can set it up ready for use by running an install script that's included in the repository that we just downloaded. The installer's noticed that I haven't installed Docker on this Raspberry Pi yet, so the first thing it'll do is install it for me. It takes a few minutes to run. I've edited the video here to speed things up a little bit, but you'll notice that it's exited from SSH. That's because it wants me to start a new SSH session, and in doing so my username, that's Pi, will be set up to use Docker commands without having to prefix them with sudo. So let's SSH and log in again. And switch to that QEWD-JSdb directory again. And restart the installer again. And this time it sees that Docker is already installed and now begins downloading the two pre-built Docker containers from Docker Hub. This one that's downloading is the QEWD server container. It'll take a few minutes and I'm going to edit the screencast to speed things up. Depending on your system and network, this can take anything up to about 5 minutes, so be patient. And now it's downloading a second container called Node Runner, which controls the installation dialog. Once again, I'll speed things up in this video while it downloads. Of course, these container downloads only occur once. Once they're downloaded, it can fire them up immediately each time. Okay, so now it's downloaded the containers, and next it fires up the Node Runner container and it begins the installation dialog. You'll be asked a few questions, and in most cases you'll just need to accept the defaults that it suggests. So here goes. So I'll say yes to this one. I'll accept 8080 as the listener port. And a pool size of 2 is okay for now. And for now I'll just use this default password. It's a good idea to change it to something else though if you make your QEWD server publicly accessible. And finally, yes, this is the folder where QEWD-JSdb is located. And that's it, QEWD is ready to start. And we can simply do that by typing /start. And you can see that we've started the QEWD container. Let's check it. And yes, there it is running. ready for me to take the QEWD-JSdb tutorial, which will actually be the subject of another video in this series. For now, let me show you how to stop, restart and reconfigure this queued instance, and also how to monitor it. To stop the container, it's best not to use the docker stop command, as this doesn't ensure a clean disconnection between the queued Node.js worker processes and the QEWD database. Instead, just do this. Make sure you're in the QEWD-JSdb directory, which we are, and then type /stop. You'll see this dialog appearing, which is completely normal, and what's happened is that an inbuilt system shutdown API has been invoked. It's not an API that an arbitrary user can simply invoke, by the way. It's secured to prevent any misuse. Anyway, if we now check the Docker processes, we can see that the JSDB container has indeed been shut down. Now that it's shut down, we could reconfigure the queued system by rerunning the installer. Let's see that in action now. So it's this command, if you remember. And you'll see that this time it's checked to see that we're running the very latest versions of the queued server and node runner containers, which we are. So it goes straight to running the installation dialog. So you can see that second time round is very much quicker. So I'll say yes to this. Maybe this time I'll set the port to 3000. And let's use a maximum of 3 worker processes. Not that it'll make much difference, but just to show you it in action. And I'm going to change the management password to, let's say, secret. But I'll accept this because that's where QEWD-JSdb is already installed. Okay, so that's the installation configuration completed, and I restart Qt just as before using the /start command. And it started the container. And now we can test the configuration and check that everything's running by using Qt's built-in Qt monitor application. To do that, I first open a browser. As you can see, I've got one here. And we start the Qt monitor application using this URL. We point to the IP address or domain name of the host server. In my case, that's my Raspberry Pi, and it's here. Could have used the domain name that I configured, which is RPI4-2, but we'll use the IP address for now. If you remember, during the configuration I set the port to 3000, so I specify that in the URL. And the path that I need is /qd monitor. And up comes the login prompt for the Qt monitor application. Again, if you remember, I changed the management password during configuration to secret. So I enter that here. And here we go. This is the Qt monitor overview panel, which shows that everything's running correctly. We'll look at this Qt monitor application in more detail in another video. But for now, we can see from this that we have Qt up and running successfully, and it's all ready for us to begin exploring QEWD-JSdb, which will be the subject of the next video in this series. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next video.